Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm your host, Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Today's special guests are Mr. Scott Blade, head football at Independence High School, and Summit head coach Brian Coleman. We're talking about tonight's WCTV game of the week, the Border Battle. Gentlemen, appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tonight's WCTV game of the week is also a region game. The first time in a few years. Obviously, you guys always match up, big rivalry game. But this year it's a little bit different, region matchup. Independence comes in 2-1 in region play, Summit undefeated at 3-0 in the league. We'll start with you, Coach Blade. Still a lot of playoff implications with tonight's matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough region, as we all know, from top to bottom. So every single one matters, and who travels, who stays home, who is eventually crowned the champion. So here we are, week 8, and it still matters.
Coach Blade, another big region game. You guys just switched over this year, and not that your region before wasn't tough. We've talked about this, but a little bit different deal moving up to 6A, and in particular this particular region.
Yes, sir. It's totally different. I mean, it's different for this game now too. I mean, it used to be early in the year, now it's later in the year, and region game and region implications. So total different feel for the game. We're used to that week 1 matchup, but now a little bit later in the year. So be a fun game for sure.
Coach Blade, you talked about this being week 8, and really the same thing for both of you. You still control your own destiny depending on how you play the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. These are, they're in the driver's seat. They're 3-0, but with 2 region games remaining, as we saw last year, there's a 3-way tie for first place, and all of a sudden you end up on the road. That's what happened with us, and so every game matters. This one is just a bigger and bigger stakes, and that's what you want. If you're a fan, that's what you want this time of the year. It's what you want the whole year. So we've got it right in front of us tonight. And two incredible teams. One has got we've had a ton of ups and downs, and the other one is riding high and playing like the defending state champions they are.
Coach Coleman, and again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here because we talk about that every time we get together, but talking about this region a little bit, this move to 6A, and obviously your team has done a great job making that adjustment, which Coach Blade just talked about. But not that there's nights off a lot, but I think looking back, you would admit that in your previous region, you did have a couple that you probably looked at and said, you know what, here's a game we can heal up. Here's a game we can get some other guys in pretty quickly. Not that doesn't happen in this region, but certainly doesn't happen as much.
Oh, definitely. No, I mean, that's the thing about this region. That's the thing about 6A. Every week is a great opponent, and you can't have any ups and downs. I mean, you can't have any downs. You got to stay up. The competition is awesome. The coaching is awesome. The rivalries, the competition is just unreal. I mean, you can't have an off week. Maybe back in 5A, you could have an off week and maybe survive. But now with the schedules that we have, and Coach Blade, the schedule he has, it's unreal. The schedule we have to put together, it's just even outside the region now, you definitely cannot have a week off. You'll get your tail kicked for sure.
Well, and you guys both know this. It's hard enough scheduling games when you both were in 5A. Obviously, Independence was a very dominant team at the 5A level as well, just like Summit. But you could always maybe go up to 6A, especially in this county, and find a game. Well, now that we're playing each other in 6A, the opportunity to find outside the region games just gets so tough. So certainly you've got a tough in-region schedule, but I think that also lends itself to a tough out-of-region schedule too, because of the nature of who you are and what county you're in, what region you're in. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the history of this game. This one dates back to 2013. Coach Blade has been a part of every one of these games. Coach Coleman, all but one.
The veteran
That's
there.
Right. That's right. That just means he's old.
No, I said veteran. No.
That is true. I'm feeling it this year. This wasn't gray. I look at the coach has got some gray too, and I didn't.
Oh, no doubt. Amen. Amen. And this is not by choice either up here,
No.
is it?
I used to be. My wife used to think I was handsome. Not no more.
Hey, listen, as an old basketball coach, I just always thought the look for the football coaches was a shaved head and a goatee or a beard. I didn't know it was because you had to do it.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that.
If you take a look at this series, obviously it's been pretty darn competitive, especially the last few years. The Independence leaves 5-3 4 different times. In fact, the first 4 times you met, it was either a district game back in the old Z plan or a region game. But since 2016, that was the last time it really mattered in terms of region standings or district standings. So the last 4 years have been out of the league kinds of games. Obviously, big rivalry. I hear your students talking about this game. I hear your administrators talking about this game. But I'm just wondering if you compare it to the last couple of years, since it is a region game for the first time since 2016, Coach Blade, does it feel even more important amongst the players, or does that still kind of feel the same because it's a border battle?
It still feels the same, whether we were playing week 1 or whether we're playing week 8. These are kids know each other, families interact with each other. We're just 3 or 4 miles away from each other. Heck, I live right next to Summit. It's just a real close proximity. Obviously, you put the region caveat in there, and where we're both at right now, that's going to just continue to add to the fire. But it's a great, healthy rivalry that between 2 schools, neighboring schools. Now you add in the region to it, and it just becomes that much bigger.
Would you agree with that, Coach Coleman? It probably feels the same amongst the players, but the fact that it is a region game does make it more important, but the feel is probably the same.
The feel is the same. And I mean, if you ask a lot of people, the game last year was maybe one of the best games in the whole state of Tennessee. And that was week 1. So we set the bar pretty high. It was really a fun game to be a part of last year. So, adding everything into this year, it's going to be another good one.
That game, 40-4 in favor of Summit, and I was at that game. It really was. Didn't watch a game that was any better than that one for sure, especially if you love offense. Coach Blade, your team has done a good job responding after some losses this year. I'm sure, you talk about practice weeks after a win versus after a loss. Probably doesn't matter this week in terms of getting the attention of your players because you're playing Summit.
No, I mean, our schedule's been a gauntlet the whole way through. So, that's a testament to these kids and these coaches. We had a lot of turnover from last year. So being able to take a fresh new group of kids and try and keep them focused on 1 week at a time. We've been overmatched on several different occasions, and I'm not sure anybody matches up with, they got with Coach Coleman's kids. As we've seen, those are to me, those are the best 2 in the state. Those kids are unbelievable. But we've faced incredible athletes all year, and our kids have responded as best they can. And us as coaches, it's those years where you're kind of missed a couple opportunities. Last week we got off to a slow start, and as Coach said, in these type of games, man, you miss a series, or you drop a ball or something, or you fumble at the wrong time. That's the ball game. They come down to literally 2 or 3 plays sometimes. And last year playing Summit at the beginning, it came down to a couple 3 plays. At the end, 2 teams fighting really hard, and it just came down to a couple who's making the plays and who's not. So proud of our kids and our coaches. I'm still fighting and still hanging in there. We still have, like I said, our goals in front of us, and hope to have a good one tonight.
Coach Coleman, your game last week, I would argue that it was the game in the state of Tennessee in terms of the 2 teams that were playing, the anticipation of that game. I'm just wondering, for your team, you could potentially see a letdown after such a game like that. But the fact that you're playing independents, that's probably a good thing in a lot of ways, right? Because if you're playing someone that's not such a heated rival, you could see, understandably so, that your team might have a letdown.
100%. Yes, we've preached that all week. I mean, you're taking the words right out of my mouth, after practice. But yeah, when you have a big game like that and all the stuff that goes along with it, and then you play another great team the next week in Independence. I think it helps. It helps that it's a rival, or it helps that it's a big game also. So, preaching all week, you can't let down one bit. They'll kick our tails if you let down any. So it's going to be a good game. Like Coach said, it's going to come down to a few possessions as always. Just can't make mistakes. You can't give up the big plays to them. And we can't turn the ball over for sure. It's just the story of football. I mean, it's just the way it goes for sure.
Coach Blade, let's talk a little bit about your game last week. Tough game with Brentwood, final score 20-17. That game was really back and forth. Brentwood grabbed that early 7-3 lead, and then it was just matching each other in terms of scores. In terms of total yards, 400 to 262, I believe, was that total. Did that allow them to maybe control the pace of that game a little bit more than you wanted them to in terms of?
Yeah, absolutely. We had someone on a coach of the game of the week on another, I think 104.5. He asked me, what are the keys to tonight? Said, honestly, it was the big plays. We've made a living off of explosive plays, and I know us coaches all define those different ways. But explosive plays and then turnovers. We knew that it was going to come down to just a couple of possessions, and they had the explosive plays, 2 of them. We had really 1, and then we turned the ball over twice, and they turned it over once, and there's your 3-point difference. So I don't think in this game, for us to have a chance in this game, the turnover battle is going to be big for both of us. And who's getting the explosive plays? They've got, in addition to the Wade brothers, that Brady Pierce kid is unbelievable. 1, 2, so they got a three-headed monster, in my opinion, that can really flip the script. And I know there's other guys there on his squad, but those guys are explosive chunk play type of guys that can really make a difference in a quick way. So for us, again, it's the same thing. We've got to get stops on defense. That did get us out of whack. I think the first series we had dropped a couple of balls, and then I think they controlled 6-7 minutes on the clock. And the next series, second play, we fumble it in our own territory. So really the offense had the ball the first half a total of 4 times and just could not find any type of rhythm. Credit to Brentwood, credit to their kids. And they kept us out of whack and out of rhythm. And for us to have a chance tonight, we need to find that rhythm and, get our defense off the field and not in an extra point type of manner, with some stops.
Coach Coleman, your game with Ravenwood, 49-20, another game that especially early was very back and forth. You guys up 22-20, you scored to take a 29-20 lead. And then instead of Ravenwood answering, you get a big play from Keaton Wade, a big interception. A few plays later, Brady Pierce scores on a 6-yard touchdown. You take the lead 36-20. And then from there, you really never look back. The thing I also, speaking of Keaton, Coach, seeing a lot bigger dose of Keaton Wade on offense.
Yeah, these big region games, he's going to have to. Kind of hold him out on non-region games, trying to get his feet under him, get him in shape. Because if you're playing both ways at our level, that's pretty tough on his body and conditioning and stuff like that. So he's gonna have to be in the backfield with his brother. He's just too big of a kid not to. And then last week that interception was huge. That kind of gives you that extra position that you're looking for, and you have to capitalize on it when you get it. And thank goodness we did. So and that's what we're talking about. I mean, that's turnovers. So, you can't have turnovers. You kind of get your offense out of whack then if you do. So, and capitalize on the turnovers if you do happen to get them.
Coach Blade, if you look at the region schedule, you guys are 2-1 with two pretty difficult opponents left in Ravenwood and Summit. But barring something, unforeseen happening, you still, regardless of what happens in these two games, should be a playoff team. But you don't want to take that chance, obviously. I take a look at the schedule because, I have the luxury of doing that. You guys are worried about the next game. But it looks like to me that Brentwood Centennial game will be a game that'll big time matter. If Brentwood wins, you're in good shape no matter what. Centennial wins, gets a little bit tricky. So obviously you guys want to make sure you take care of your own business and not worry about someone else.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. 4 teams go to it, whether we're fourth, third, second, or first. 4 teams go to it, and we've that comes to head-to-head stuff right there. If my gosh, if we get to a point where we can't win another game this year, then and we don't make the playoffs for some reason that I'm unfamiliar with, then so be it. We don't deserve to go. But right now you have all your eggs laid out in front of you. You want to go play in the playoffs, go beat good teams. And then the reality of it is you got to beat them twice. Our region is typically held up in the playoffs against other regions in the past. And so these type of games, I mean, they're not just, it's not an end all. It's a continuation on the path to for coach getting back to the state championship, for us moving along in our season. But it's a daunting path because the parity in this league, in this region, it does go through here, and it continues in those first 3 rounds, potentially first 3 rounds of the playoffs.
Coach Coleman, and kind of adding to what Coach Blade has said, I think we're getting to that time of year where you guys are becoming a little weary playing each other. Even though you've only played 3 games, it still can mount. But once we get to the playoffs in WCS, history has said, like Coach Blade was saying, it doesn't really matter if you're fourth or if you're first. If you get in with a shot and you're a WCS team, you're probably going to have a shot to advance.
100% agree. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I mean, anybody that's going to advance the playoffs is going to have to beat a Williams County team twice for sure, at least. It's been fun on the outside watching it. It was fun last year just to see who won that game, because it was always, you never really knew because they were all so even and playing at such a high level. So, now we're smack down in the middle of it. Like I said, it was fun just to observe last year, but I think it's definitely going to happen. This county, this league, this region is stacked, I believe. I don't know much about the matchup Memphis region. I know Collierville's pretty good. I've heard that. Whitehaven might be the 4th seed. So it's going to be tough, I know, but I would put my money on our region for sure.
Definitely agree with that, Coach. Hey, let's talk a little offense as we wind down here. Coach Blade, obviously Joseph Cummings, that's a young man we talked about earlier in the year, learning your system, really playing well of late. Trey Hartwell's another name that stands out. But talk about the play of Jack Rummel. That young man has had some big games of late.
Yeah, he's really been a spark plug for us. A ton of yards receiving, and he really gets a lot of them after the catch. He's knock on wood's been a real durable receiver. He's not the biggest guy, but he's got good quickness, good hands, good spatial awareness, and good balance. I think he's been drilled a few times and still squirts out the other end and, makes long plays, big chunk plays. So, and he's a fearless guy. I mean, he had a catch last week where he was horizontal for a few seconds to, make the catch. He's a guy who's been a big blessing for us. And, a big reason our offense has been able to score, and you couple that with River Katina and Ty Lockwood. There's 2 other receivers. All 3 are kind of different and built different and provide a different spark to us. And to take Joe's give him some kudos there. Those teams that we played early on, boy, they make you make a decision pretty quick with the ball. And I think that has helped in his maturation process, going forward, is being able to, see things, get rid of the ball, recognize things a little quicker. And I think that's what's helped him out a ton this year.
Coach Coleman, with your team, obviously you talk about Destin Wade. He obviously, that's a guy that every time you look up, he's making plays that are almost hard to believe, really. You got Keaton Wade playing offense now. Brady Pierce, you mentioned. I know we've talked about this before, but a young man that is really stepping up for you is Dominic Hollis. He's really played well lately.
Yeah, he's gotten a whole lot better. He got hurt early last year, early, and didn't really have any first freshman season. So he's just now a sophomore. So he's just now, I think, figuring this whole varsity football thing out. And I think he's gotten better each week. And the offensive line have been doing a good job giving him some holes there. You can't say enough about the offensive line. I know Destin is special, but there's a lot of times where he's ran 30, 40 yards and hadn't been touched until he gets 30, 40 yards downfield. So, that's a testament to our offensive line. And, they don't get mentioned very often, but they're doing an excellent job for us. They're veteran guys, returning 4 out of the 5. And then the one that didn't return is Jack Bauer, and the left guard. And he's done a great job in his first year as a starter, really to elevate that offensive line and make them even better.
Let's talk a little defense. Coach Blade, we'll start with you. We talked about your team giving up over 400 yards last week, but only 20 points. That's probably as much as anything what it's about, right? The number of points.
Yeah, they did a good job of running and gouging us for big chunks. I'm going to give Coach Coleman some kudos. That offensive line, you can tell the maturation. Again, we've played each other for a number of years now, and that's a big physical. You can watch them, and there's a lot to get excited about. That their offensive line really gets after it and plays with. You can tell that's a veteran unit. So you couple that with obviously the backfield and what they're doing. That's going to be so talking about defense, going to be extremely tough to slow down. Brentwood kind of leaned on us and was able to move us around a little bit and really have their way with us, controlling the clock and ground and pound. So we got to do a better job of that. We're not very big up front on either side of the ball. So that's been a challenge for us all year. It'll be a challenge tonight as well. But I can tell you, and your kids, Brian, your kid, those offensive line, I think looks like the best one you've had. Is that close to
yes,
right?
yes, sir, no doubt. Yes.
They get after it.
Yes.
They're a fun group to watch, and most people, like you said, aren't going to give the offensive linemen a ton of credit, but coaches know, and that's a terrific group, and we know we're going to have our hands full with that offense in general, and our defense. We feel like we're still going through some growing changes there, growing pains, whatever. But we'll see. Let's play and let's see, and let's take another challenge and see what we do with it.
Coach Coleman, your offense obviously gets a lot of attention, but your defense has played pretty darn well too.
They have, and a lot of credit to Coach Taylor, his first year as defense coordinator, because Coach Melton left, went to Franklin. So Coach Taylor has taken over that, and he's been here since we've been here through it all, and wanted that challenge, and I think stepped up and has done an excellent job, and he just worked his tail off. And I think when coaches work hard and we're very involved, and the kids see that they're very involved, the kids automatically buy into it. You know what I mean? They say, well, heck, he's putting all this time into it. He must know what he's talking about. Because sometimes you have to convince the kids that sometimes we do know what we're talking about. But he's done a great job. The defense has done great. People that Jacob Turner, middle linebacker, is doing great. Of course, Keaton. Well, Brady Hendricks on the other side of Keaton has really stepped up a lot because not many people want to run towards number 7. So Brady's getting a lot of traffic there, and of course Brady Pierce at safety, and you can go on and on. But it's very scary to defend Independence's offense with the weapons they have at receiver, and the different threats. You got a big tall receiver, then you've got the short quick one, then you've got Katina going catching the fade. So it's a fun thing to watch whenever whenever Katina's catching them fades. We've seen enough of it, too much of it. Hopefully it don't happen against us, but it definitely going to have to defend that this week. So it's going to be fun for sure.
Coach Blade, let's talk about the offense, maybe some keys tonight. And we talked about a few things, but it is the key. And I know you've got to score more points than they do and all that kind of stuff, but is as big a key tonight possessing the ball for a little bit, not only because, that's good for your team to have the ball, but also to keep that Summit offense off the field.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not a built as a possession type of team. That's just not how we're built. We can't ground and pound. We need our keys for the game again are real simple. It's eliminate the chunk plays from them or keep them at bay. We're not going to eliminate them, keep them at bay, or just win that chunk play battle and then the turnover battle. But again, we're not built for just 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's not us. That's not how we're just not built that way. I wish we were. Wish we had a little bit more we could lean on there, but this year we're just not built that way. So what I was proud on last year is we had the 3 scoring drives we had were not typical Independence drives. They were grounded out, short stuff, physical stuff, great catches, great efforts. I think if we had those first 2 series, maybe the score might be a little different. But we didn't get them early on. But those 3 drives that we had against them to score were actually not our typical personality, but was real pleased with it and gave us a chance.
Coach, let's talk about that a little bit more. You talked about how your team's built and how you like to play, and it's not a ground and pound situation. But do you do things, not to give away the game plan here, but do you do things like take the play clock down maybe a little bit further than you normally do if you're wanting to keep the ball a little bit, or don't really want to do that because that's not what you're used to?
You can. That kind of. So one rule of thumb is, yes, slow it down. I mean, on basketball, they don't have a shot clock. So you sit there and have a 20-point game, boring, whatever. And in the end, the better team's going to win the game. For us, on a team that is no huddle and you're taking them out, if you take it down to 30 seconds, that's a wonderful thought. However, these kids don't want to play that way. That's not what they're used to. You take your own kids and your own brain calling the play out of rhythm. So I'd rather have my kids in rhythm. I'd rather have my kids wanting to play, wanting to do what we do, or do we just play, hey, we don't want Destin Wade to have the ball? Nobody does that's playing them. The only people in that stadium want Destin Wade with the ball is the Summit people. Okay, let's make that clear. He's a special dude. All right, so we got to do what we got to do. And if at the end of the day, that's not good enough, it's not good enough. But to sit there and go the no shot clock and basketball rule to try and keep from getting a tail kicking, yeah, that's not going to, it's not going to fly.
I love that insight.
Coach Blade keeps it real. I'll tell you that.
That's right. Well, I love that.
I got nothing to lose.
I love that insight because, it's when people do that, it does send that message. Hey, is what we do not good enough? And does it take you out of your rhythm? So I appreciate that honesty there for sure. Coach Coleman, let's talk about this. A couple of keys for your team tonight, whether it be offensively or defensively with Independence. And you talked about this earlier, having the different weapons that they have at receiver in particular, and then style of play, right? I mean, playing against them is a little bit different than playing against some other teams.
You're going to have to stop the big plays. You're going to have to stop the long chunk plays, like Coach said, and offensively for us, we got to protect the football. I mean, it's probably the same thing week in, week out with every football team. I mean, limit the big plays and protect the football. I mean, if they're throwing 80-yard fades and if they're, if they're getting big chunk plays, we get behind and you start panicking. I limit the big plays, make them snap it over and over again. It's whatever every coach says, I'm sure, and win the turnover battle for sure. They've got a lot of weapons that can beat us over the top, so we've got to protect against that for sure.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you being here today. I know you're busy. Big game tonight. Looking forward to it again. The WCTV game of the week is the Border Battle, Independence traveling to Summit. Appreciate you guys coming out today.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.